Hey, I'm James from Smoking Dead Barbecue, and earlier this year, I picked up my first ever Santa Maria grill from Lone Star Grillz, and I've been having a blast coming to grips with how to get the most out of my Santa Maria grill. And there's been a couple observations along the way. First, this thing is a world of flavor. Second, it is really hot, tending to a live fire if the entire coal bed is activated. So I'm a little bit later here at the tail end of the season. Otherwise, this video would consist of me in and out of the pool repeatedly to cool off between cooks. Second observation is I said in my introductory video that I opted to save some money and go for the carbon steel grates versus the stainless steel. But now with a couple months under the belt, I am starting to recognize some of the challenges of maintaining seasoning. This is not too dissimilar to maintaining any cast iron in your grill of any kind, but I've noticed even with a full cover that there is a lot of moisture getting inside of my Santa Maria, and I am constantly at battle with rust. So if you were in the market looking for one, I might consider a little bit more strongly than I did upgrading for the stainless steel option, but that's neither here nor there. Today is all about the rotisserie unit, and I want to get a couple cooks under the belt before tackling maybe an entire pig or a leg of lamb or something much larger where I can take advantage of having all this space. But before jumping into the deep end, I want to get my feet wet with a cook that I've got plenty of experience on, which is a rotisserie turkey. Let's fire it up. So I'm going to start by removing a couple sections of my cooking grids, placing them off to the side so we have an open cavity for our turkey. I could place these under the grill, but as I mentioned, the ongoing battle with rust, I'm actually going to spray some oil on these and maybe try and get a little bit more seasoning built up before the winter months arrive. If these don't get hot enough during the cook, when we're done, I can always drop them back in once we remove the turkey. But I now have a nice large space for our rotisserie turkey to sit right above. Raise our grids while we're prepping our fire. Drop in a little Fogo to help our fire start. And I'll be cooking with some Furtado Farms oak cookwood, the same wood that I'm using in my offset. Grab our Grill Blazer grill gun, fire that up. Looks good, that'll catch. So while our Santa Maria is coming up to temperature, just a quick moment on fuel, and fuel is flavor. What I've learned after getting a couple months of use of my Santa Maria under the belt. So starting on my left or your right and working away, we're going from the least amount of flavor to the most amount of flavor. And like it or not, but there is not a ton of flavor with pellets. I even did a blind taste test using a propane grill with a pellet tube smoker versus a pellet smoker itself, and the results were neck and neck. In fact, my wife and I both preferred the gas grill with a pellet tube smoker, but this is not to say there was not a lot of flavor. We are not burning enough wood, and the wood that we are burning doesn't have enough of the secret ingredient, which is moisture. We need that moisture in order to get great smoke flavor. And if you're thinking, well, the answer is just throw full logs in whatever I'm burning, you also have to look at the efficiency of your grill. Something like a Kamado style grill is very efficient, and it doesn't have the opportunity to move enough air to burn full wood splits, like I'm often using those in my offset smoker or my Santa Maria. But I've seen a couple videos, including on my Santa Maria, of people using things like briquettes, to me, which is sort of missing the point of having a Santa Maria grill, is you want to get advantage of the inefficiency, which allows you to burn an efficient fire and get the maximum amount of flavor. So that's exactly what we're going to go for. So if you find yourself looking at different models, and you maybe even find a pellet rotisserie and or thinking about briquettes, I would strongly encourage you, if you're going to make the investment time and energy to run a Santa Maria grill, you want to get the full advantage. And so outside of using some charcoal to start my fire, I'm going to be relying only on wood embers to actually cook our turkey. Now, a word on that reminds me of Grandpa used to have a saying when I was growing up about Cadillac dealerships. The story goes, people would walk in and say, how much does it cost to fill this up? And the salesperson would famously say, if you have to ask about the fuel mileage, you can't afford the car. This is a little bit truer. I was reminded of that in terms of the cost of fueling something like a Santa Maria. While it is incredibly tasty, so that fuel is flavor, we are burning a lot of fuel, and thus the cost of running it for a long, low and slow cook is more significant than any other type of smoker format that I've used in the past. So if you're in the market and fuel cost is a consideration, you don't have access to great fuel at a a low price. That is something to keep in mind. But if you are wondering, can you taste the difference? Everything that I have done so far, you can absolutely appreciate the live fire Santa Maria experience. And I hope the same is true on today's turkey. Speaking of the turkey, let me get it out of the refrigerator, bring it out, and I'll catch you up on everything we needed to do to be ready for this point. We can get it on the Santa Maria Rotisserie. So our turkey has just come out of the overnight dry brine. And if you have ever had a turkey and thought, that's a little bit dry, I don't like turkey, there's only a couple steps you need to completely transform your turkey. So the first step that I had for this turkey is something that we call the buttermilk salt brine. So this is taking the turkey, putting it in a buttermilk bath, and then brining that with salt for about 6 to 8 hours. And that's going to make sure that our bird remains tender and juicy, even in the white meat after the end of our cook. The next step after the buttermilk dry brine is to rinse it off and then inject our compound butter. And this is the secret sauce that makes all the difference. We can add as much flavor as we want, as well as make sure that we preserve the juiciness of our bird. And so to keep this sort of a holiday themed, I've gone for rosemary, garlic, and thyme. You can customize however you like. I just find that the aromatics do best when we inject them, as if we were to add them on the outside of our bird, they are more prone to burning. By trussing our bird and keeping the wings nice and tight, this is going to help reduce flailing around. And sometimes you can rely from the butcher, you get a little bit of skin that you can tuck the legs into. Mine has already broke, but that's exactly what would happen later on in the cook. And so you want to make sure that we truss everything up nice and tight so that we don't have any unwanted surprises. So next I'm going to get this positioned generally on the rotisserie, and then we'll do our last little bit of trussing just to help make sure that everything stays nice and square on the grill. Okay, we have everything trussed up. Let's move our bird over to the grill, and then we can tighten down our clamps once we are completely centered. Let's add a meter probe as well, set it up to track along with today's cook. I'll see you in a couple hours. So we are nearly 2 hours into our cook, and I'm surprised exactly how fast this is going. According to the meter, we have nearly reached the internal temperature that I set for 155 degrees Fahrenheit. We obviously want to go a little bit beyond that, but that just gives me my cue to start getting my Chef's Temp X10 out and doing some spot checking in the dark meat and elsewhere to make sure that our bird is fully cooked. But the dark meat is sitting at 159. The white meat at the lowest point in the breast is at about 149 degrees Fahrenheit. So we are in the 10 to 20 minutes away from getting this off and letting it rest. I'll let it rest about 10-15 minutes, and then I'll be ready to join you for the taste test. But just a quick update in terms of how's the cook gone and how I approach fire management on something like a Santa Maria versus my offset smoker. So as you can see, we are down to a fairly small fire and the coal bed of all that oak wood that we burnt. So the approach that I went with is starting with a bigger fire and using a higher grid position, taking advantage of the adjustability of the Santa Maria. So I had 3 sort of small fires going, and part of the joy, if you love playing with live fire, you'll absolutely love this experience, because you're using gloves or a ash rake, you're able to move the fire around and make sure that you're getting the end result that you like. So right now I have a bias slightly towards the dark meat, just to make sure that it's fully cooked and finishes at the exact same time of our white meat. But we have more flexibility in the Santa Maria than anything else that I've cooked in terms of moving the fire around to target specific muscle groups, as well as the final skin for the presentation. But I think we're gonna have a heck of a bird in about 10-15 minutes time. So I'll meet you over in the kitchen for the taste test once this has come off and has been able to rest on the board for about another 10 minutes. Well, our turkey certainly looks the part. It looks and smells amazing, but I still can't believe this turkey was done in just over 2 hours and 14 minutes. That's quick. Like, we're approaching about the same speed as what I would do on my rotisserie on a Kamado Joe or on a Big Green Egg in the past. This is cooking fast. So to find out if it's fast and good or just really quick, let's slice into it and find out. Well, the wind is picking up. I don't know if you'll hear this, but I get nice and close. That is the sound of a crispy skin. So let's start by slicing a cross section of our breast to sample the white. That looks pretty amazing and juicy to me. Let's get a couple slices for our taste test. Oh, it's been a while, but I need to bust out the smell-o-vision, because if you could smell what I am smelling right now, your mouth would be watering. So a big part of that is the aroma of wood burning nice and clean. No dirty smoke issues here when we're burning an open flame. Next thing that I'm smelling outside of the spices is some of the aromatic compound butter, some of the sage, rosemary, thyme, things that would turn this into a perfect holiday bird are all there. So if you eat with your eyes, I'm already halfway done, but that doesn't count for anything if it tastes awful. So let's dive in, see how we actually did. Got a couple pieces here. Cheers. I know there are people out there, I used to be one of them, who said, you know, turkey, don't like it, it's too dry, makes you fall asleep. Well, maybe it still makes you fall asleep, but dry is not something that we're experiencing with this turkey. This has juices galore. I'm going in for another bite. That is amazing. Well, we started this cook with the sole purpose of just getting a bit of a practice run on a cook that I know turns out a winner on any other rotisserie application that I've tried it. And now that I know it's an absolute winner on my Santa Maria, I think we've built up the confidence level to tackle one of those big cooks, really take advantage of the space. This is over a 16-pound turkey, and it looked like a mini chicken sitting on the rotisserie on my Lone Star Grillz, a Santa Maria. It has so much more space, and that rotisserie motor is so much stronger than anything else that I've worked with. So let me know down in the comments. I'm sort of between a big leg of lamb. Costco, I see, sometimes has legs or goats or half goat for sale, and or maybe a small piglet, something like that. We could do a whole rotisserie pig. I sort of can't pick, so I'm going to rely on your guys' input and comments down below, and I can't wait to see. And I can't wait, now that I've got this cook under the belt, to try a rotisserie cook directly over the coals, break out the Bracero and start using that, since on those cooks for more time, we don't want some of the flames that were needed today to get the crispy skin. Instead, we just want the wood coals. So I'm saving that for that cook. But that's it for today. I'm James from Soak That Barbecue signing off. Remember, don't be afraid to fire it up. Oh my goodness. Oh, so good.